No, I haven't been live on Substack in so long. Um, Let me see if I can find myself on here. I like to be able to see if I can hear my sound level. This way. Okay. I think I have to unmute myself. Okay, yeah, I should be coming through. All right, everyone. Hello, welcome. I'm sorry that I'm a few minutes late. I've gotten into this habit of turning my cell phone off when I get to work at my desk, and I didn't realize that when you do that, it takes a while when your cell phone turns back on to connect to the internet and do all the things. So that's why I'm a little bit late because I had to wait for my cell phone to properly turn on and connect to the internet and have everything working. Okay, so um first I want to say to the community of Top and Fiction. Um, I want to say thank you to many unsung heroes who I'm actually going to shout you out in today's email when I send it later today. But I've been uh, doing not so well in my home and personal life, and I don't want to get into it just because that's not what Top and Fiction is about. It's not a sounding board for me to go off on how my life is going, but without me asking for help or support or anything like that, there have been a couple of you reached out and who've said, "Hey, how can I help doing X? How can I help doing Y?" And you might not realize that when you did that, it was actually a huge help for me because I was going through and have been going through some crazy things in my life. So I just want to say thank you to those people, both, in this way on the stream, and also I will be saying another thanks and shouting those people out specifically via the email that I send out later today. It's just been, I mean, it's been such a crazy time for me that on Monday I quite honestly forgot that the weekly email goes out, which is why it went out so late. Just because I've just been so crazy and it's just been a really, really rough time for me. So thank you to those people. Thank you to everyone in your patience. Um, are they pretty low? Um, yeah, it's coming through on this mic, so I will try to put my mouth a little bit closer to the mic and see if that helps a bit. But this should be the mic that's picking up my sound. Ooh, I just muted myself and I didn't mean to do that. Uh, sorry, I'm not someone who speaks that loudly, or at least I try not to. Um, but let me know if that helped out at all, me kind of putting the mic closer to my mouth in that way. Hoping that helps you to hear me. Okay. So, okay, I wanted to get that out of the way. I don't know if you guys know about my wall of cereals, which I both love and hate that title. I don't know, I might change it. But essentially its purpose is for people who do serialized fiction on Substack. I want, and I have been wanting to for the last like almost a year, figure out a way to highlight serials in a much better way than right now. And I think I got it. I think I figured it out. I had a vision in my mind of what I wanted it to look like, and having TIFF Press, Top and Fiction Press, and having that website that's separate from Substack so that I can really manipulate what the page looks like helped me to visualize take what I was visualizing in my mind and put it on the screen. So the idea of the wall of serials essentially is that each serial will get their own graphic that, if you're writing a serial, you create the graphic that the way you want it to look. And when you hover over it with the mouse or on a mobile device, if you click on the image, it will flip almost like a baseball card, or like, you're collecting a card. So it'll flip, and when it flips, you get information about that serial. You'll get the name of it, the writer, the genre, the if it's never-ending serial, or if it's one that has like a novel ending, if it's a collection of short stories. Um, You'll get a synopsis of a couple of sentences about the serial, and then any trigger warnings that the writer might want you to know about so that you'll be aware, and then a little button where the button will take you to the index page of that serial where you can read the first chapter, start at the very beginning, and ideally subscribe and continue to receive that serial. You'll also get the schedule. So if it's ideally, it's going to be released on a regular schedule. These are all active serials right now. You can see, it releases every Monday, every Tuesday, every Saturday, whatever, every other Thursday, whatever the cadence of the release of that serial. You'll see that information as well. So, and right now, I believe on the page I've got, I'm just pulling it up for myself right now. I think there are 9. 3, 6, 9. Yeah, I've got 9. I've sent out personal DMs to people who want to enter, and I'm calling it the beta testing. So the beta testing of it, because I'm going to officially release the URL to everyone so that readers looking for serials can go to this page, and it'll be on the menu bar of for this page. And then anyone who has a serial that's active, an active serial, can submit through the form. So this form is being tweaked as each person fills it out. So it's really not ready yet because I just today had to add another question to it because I realized I missed something. So it's still very much in the beta testing. But if you are listening right now and you want to be on the wall and enter in the beta period for me to help me, you know, work out the kinks, DM me on Substack. I will give you the form so you can fill out the form and do all the things and get on this page. When it goes live, you'll be one of the first people, one of the first serials that's on this page. Um, the only thing that I'm asking right now is that it's an active serial. And when I say serial, I don't mean a short serial. Right now, I'm just looking for active serials, and that includes a short story collection. So if you're doing a bunch of short stories that you intend to at some point put together into a collection, you're included in that hub right there. Now, in 2026, I will open the wall of serials to two other types: completed serial. So if you have a completed serial on Substack that's just sitting there, and it's already been done it doesn't matter if it's years ago or if it's just recently completed, I will start accepting those in 2026, and also short serials. So anything where it's like a 3-part story. Um, Jay Curtis, I see your DM. I will send you the link when I'm done with this. Okay. I see that you'd love to join, and I'd love to have you. Okay, so there's that. Now, quickly, I want to read the monthly recap people right now, and then we could get on to the next portion where I'm going to invite CB Mason on to, of all things, talk about her serializing experience and her upcoming book release. So, okay, I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. Usually, I group these into, if it's a micro slash flash fiction, short story, serial. Like I do that. I will say again, or I will put a little caveat on the whole cereal discussion. This monthly recap will officially be the last time that any cereal will be mentioned or featured in the monthly recap. So what's going to happen is once September comes around, cereals are going to be no longer a part of the weekly emails in the way that they used to be. I'm doing things a bit differently. So you should still on Fridays, if you have a cereal, you definitely want to make sure you still submit your cereal or recommend a cereal for when that Friday email goes out. And the reason is because on a first come, first served basis, the first five different cereals that come in, regardless, I'm not vetting them at all. You're going to be mentioned at the top of the wall of cereals page. And I think I did a screenshot recently on Substack Notes where you get to see what that essentially will look like. So if you want to be listed there as one of the top five, you need to make sure that you immediately on that Friday go in there and put all your information, say that you're a serial because I'm just taking the top five. Now, the only reason I'm doing top five is because in the last year, I've only got an average of about seven or eight different serials that have submitted in that have used the submission form for Send Us Your Fiction on a weekly basis. So until I get more than 10, if I can get, 12 different serials on a weekly basis for like a period of 2 months, then I will increase that number. And the first 10 different serials, then I will increase that number. For right now, because there's so few, I'm only doing the first five. So if you want, so continue to do that, but just to let you know that on the weekly emails on Mondays, starting in September, you won't see a section for cereals. And then in the monthly recap, you won't see that as well. There's going to be some different things shaking up, but because I'm giving so much onus and so much of a spotlight to cereals, I feel like I'm going to be transitioning them into a different thing. So, without further ado, here are the 20 featured stories for the monthly recap. And just a reminder on this, it is split 50-50. So, half of these stories will have appeared previously in the last 5 weeks that we've had, and then the other half are brand new, and they will not have been featured in the weeklies. That's how I do it. But all 20 will have a medallion that they can download and put and use however they want with their story. So all 20 of these, you guys, if you hear your name and your story, there will be a medallion. You will be able to access it and get it later today. Okay, so here we go. Annie Hendricks. Oh, sorry. I forgot how I do this. It's been a month, so I forgot how I do these. Starting again. So this is the monthly recap number 7. These are stories that have been written between June 28th and August 1st. Carnival, written by Annie Hendricks. To Sing Against the Sea, written by Chip Spencer. Incandescent Fire, written by Sean Thomas McDonald. The Trouble with Time Machines, written by Gabriel Golovkin. So Help Me God, written by Scott McLeod. Plastic Kiss, written by Basically Human. The Last Walk of Henry Chandler, written by Jay Lashley. My Apologies, Mr. Stevens, written by Paul Wittenberger. The Fool, Smokemouth, Episode 1, written by S.E. Reed. Glass Memories, written by Tamsin G. By the Firelights, written by Blaine Mercer. The Lizard at the Last Free City in the World, written by Frank Bard. Robo Hospital, written by Gerard DeLeo. Cowboys Only Cry When They Bleed, written by Drew Valdez. The Legend of Hackberry Hill, written by Wendy Cockcroft. Family Pride, written by Feasts and Fables. The Crown of Glass, Fang and Thorn, written by C. Main. Sweet Dreams, written by V. Kelly Sibley. Lucifer's Lieutenant, written by Daniel O'Donnell. Soul Piercer, written by E. A. Colquitt. Okay, thank you. That was all 20. Again, later today, those 20 will be able to download their medallions and use them as they please. And now we're going to transition to the second half of what I like to do every month is to have a guest on. And so, CB Mason, I think you're already in the room. So I am going to come in here, type CBMAS. Oh, what are you doing? CB. Oh my God, it keeps correcting me typing CB. CBMAS. Here we go. Okay. Invite. I'm so excited. I haven't had a guest on in so long. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I am so sorry. I said to you, it will take about 5 minutes, and then I didn't realize my phone was going to take forever to turn on, and then
Oh,
getting
yeah.
on, and then having everything to explain. I was just like, oh my God, I told her 5 minutes, and we're past 15.
No, it's all good. It was some good explanation and some more stories for us all to go check out. So,
Yeah. Oh my God. I haven't done like an interview or actually been live on Substack. I didn't realize how long it had been until I found myself fumbling over my words. I'm like, I'm usually much more together than this. Has it really been that long? And yes, it has. It's been at least a
it'll be
month.
like riding a bike. It'll come back, right?
Right. I feel like what it's telling me is I need to do these more often, not less, because that way it'll be like second nature and I
Yeah,
won't feel like I'm getting back on the bike.
because you
Which
don't
is
have enough going. To definitely do it more often.
right, which is a terrible analogy for me because I actually don't know how to ride a bike, but don't tell anyone that. It's one of those little embarrassments I never learned. Okay, so we've got CB Mason on. So CB, if you could please tell us a bit about your Substack, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of your book.
Sure. So, I have written a young adult dystopian coming of age novel. I wrote it back coming out of COVID. I was in between jobs. And so I came to Substack to write newsletters to, start to build a community and get the information out. So that's why I came here. So my point is to find others that enjoy reading and writing and of the same genre and I'm obviously finding lots of different genres and people to follow. So um, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, when I saw that it was young adult, I think that's what piqued my interest. Because way back in the day, and I don't want to say I was a young adult at the time, but I know that a lot of adults read young adult, and I'm one of those people who,
Yeah.
I used to read like I'm looking at my bookshelf now, and I've got an entire like two bookshelves that are just young adult books and series because that was my go-to young adult fantasy. Love it. And I will admit I've moved away from it. I don't know if it's so weird that it's gotten darker, which is a
Yeah.
strange thing to say, but I feel like young adult seems more adult
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
days, that it's not exactly my cup of tea anymore. So I think, what interested me was just to find out a bit more about your young adult series and how do you find that it fits in the fiction community of Substack as a whole? Because I will say you are a bit of a needle in a haystack because I don't know of many other young adult fiction writers on Substack. And
Uh,
if you know of any,
I
please highlight them for me because I was like, whoa, this is different.
yeah,
Like young adult writer here. Like there's so much horror, there's so much sci-fi, there's so much
right,
fantasy, speculative fiction, I mean, I could go on, but
within the young ad
YA, how do you find that being
yeah,
YA here?
it,
Do
uh
you find your audience here as well because there is such a gamut of so many other things? How is that working for you?
I have not found many other young adult authors.
Mhm.
I feel like well, let's step back. So young adult, it's written the protagonist is in that teenage years, right? So
Right.
like the I write the high school age. There's
Mhm.
also upper middle grade.
Right.
So high school age. And so that's the main protagonist of the story. That's what says that this is a young
Right,
adult
that's what
book,
makes it young
right?
adult, and I
Right.
think what happens is the experiences that these young adults are having seem to be more and more adult all the time, but the crux of it is if your main character isn't that teenage, adolescent age, then you can't say it's YA. It's just not.
Correct. Correct. So it appeals to people who are in that age or approaching. So, your young teens all the way up through college age students are considered the actual target of the genre, but we've all been that age.
Right.
Once you pass it, you've been there.
Yeah.
So, it does appeal to those of us that are older, wiser, and have more years behind us. And so I always feel like there's a little stigmatism when I say I'm young adult. They're like, "Oh, so you write for teenagers?" Well, yes and no.
Yeah,
Like
it's
young
like I wonder when the person
adults,
says that, I'm like, "Have you never read," like,
yeah,
like, and I hate to use this as an example because I know, the author isn't really liked very much, but how many adults have read Harry Potter? Let's be for real. Okay, I know that the kids were reading Harry Potter, but,
it's
I
really adult.
the adults
Every
were reading
Disney
it.
movie every Disney movie is made for adults because who takes the kids to the movie? The parents, right? So then
Correct.
you
So
see that the parents wanna go see.
correct. The directors and the writers, they know that the parents are going to be bringing these kids, so they need to give us a reason to not fall asleep in the theater and keep us interested just as much as they keep the kids interested with all the colors and the sounds and the music. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is why I feel like young adult really is for all ages. I know you gotta pick your target, right? Like, so
Right.
but it is. It's for all of us because we're either going into it, we're in it, or we've passed it, and we can see ourselves within those characters. We can relate to it in our life experiences if we've
Right.
already gone through it.
And then
So
when you think about your audience, because now that you mention that, like the because it's for almost all ages, when you say, the parent is taking the child to the movie theater, you have to also consider your audience. If you were gearing towards, okay, I want to find the teenage audience. They probably don't have the Substack app on their
correct.
phone.
I
So so
I'm
so
fine.
your audience has to be who's using Substack. And if you're looking at that, then you have to be saying, well, my audience is an adult with a job and a career and
Mhm.
bills to pay and a mortgage, whatever the case may be. So it is when it's a teenager, it's different than, trying to find the audience of it's an adult audience with
Yeah.
adult
So the finished
things.
book that's out there, right? Like this book,
Right.
sure, 100%. I hope a lot of teenagers pick it up and read it.
Right.
On Substack, it is the adults who I'm finding, which is fine. And I'm not finding a
Right.
lot of young adult authors on here either, which if anybody knows of any, please let me know. I'm trying to find them.
Right. Right. And that's
I
one of the
I find
reasons
way more of
why
them on Instagram than I do on Substack for
right, and
sure.
that's one of the reasons why I honestly created TIFF Press was for someone like you, because I realized that while Substack is great and the garden and the walls are beautiful and we're in here and we're all in this utopia and it's so great, there is a world outside of it. And I said, how can I break the wall and get beyond the comfy Substack that we're in. And I said,
Mhm.
well, I need to create a URL that stands on its own and create a social media platform where I can go to Instagram and I can go to Pinterest and I can go to all these places with that and say, hey, look at all these people writing all this fiction and pull them into the wall, essentially, into the garden. Like, because we're not gonna unfortunately, it's a great garden, and sure, people are coming in all the time, but not for us, for fiction
Yeah. Yeah.
specifically. I'm sure they're coming in because of other people that are bigger, and they're bringing them in, and they're finding out. But, specifically for fiction and for you, for, like, young adult, I need to know where are the young adults hanging out, and unfortunately, as I roll my eyes, they're hanging out in TikTok and on,
Yeah.
on these platforms that I'm a little niggly and not really comfortable with, but
Yeah.
that's where they are. And I want to bring them in for you because I see you here with your young adult amazing cover and story. And I'm just like, oh, but is she finding what she's looking for here? The community is great. The community is huge and it's big, but for readers, it's like we need to go beyond us to find them, right?
Right. Well, and like most of my posts on Substack are talking about my book,
Right.
about process, giving kind of those inside peeks and whatever. And I've done several short stories that
Mhm.
are extensions of the world. So that's really like coming to Substack for me was building again like that community of, and um, it actually gave me the the confidence to publish. Right, like
I love
it's
that because
hard.
it did that for
Go,
me too.
here you go, take it. Like that's so hard. And so I
Right.
think writing a weekly newsletter
Yep.
gave me the confidence that when the book actually came out in April, like I had almost a full year of newsletters that I had already thrown out there.
Yeah, you have a portfolio, you have something else
Mhm.
that people
Yeah,
it's not just a book that stands on
right.
its own with nothing else,
So
no substance, no
it
build
less
up.
scary. It was less
Right, no
scary
foundation. Okay,
book.
so we've mentioned the book like this ethereal thing. You've held it up, shattered.
Mhm.
Okay, now let's talk. Tell us the main character. Give us a little teaser on what the book is about, what the genre is. Put us in the world and
Okay.
tell us all about it.
So I live in the Pacific Northwest. So this story is set in the basic area that I live. So about a century from now, the world has changed. The United States is gone. That's our dystopian. It's a new society. So the story of Shattered follows Contessa, my protagonist, as a young teen going into high school for the first time. Her family tragically dies, and she has to move from her rural location in the Pacific Northwest to one of the remaining urban centers, which is actually the Boise area. So people reading the story may recognize a lot of the locations that I've dropped into the book. So we follow Contessa to Bannock, is what it's called now. And she has to deal with going to high school for the first time, grieving the loss of her family, grieving the loss of her style of life, navigating new social norms that she never knew existed. And then she starts to have these strange memories pop up that make her think that maybe her family's death was not an accident.
Mhm.
So that's our story. We're following her. Book one is all about self identity, about Tessa starting to come into her own and figure out who is she, who does she want to be, and then realizing that there's something bigger out there than just her. She's dealing with all of this grief, and yet there's something more that she's got to look outside of herself to be like, okay, I can't just focus on me.
Mhm.
I need to look at what is going on around me because the story is bigger than just me. So book one
So,
gives us that setup of like this is who she is, who she wants to be. And book two will be more about like learning her social identity, who she is in this new world.
are you writing book 2 right now? Is it done? Is it
Done. It's I've passed it off for for
okay.
copy and line edits right now. So I wrote all 250,000 words in 4 months
Mhm.
during my break between jobs. So all three books are done.
Okay.
Uh, Um, but we're up to the stage of copy and line edits for book 2. ARC should be out mid to late August, and then I'm hoping for a late September release.
And how do you plan all of that? Like, what is your, like, process of you so you're gonna do advanced reader copies, and then you're going to publish. So are you trying to do, like, a quick release? Got book 1, book 2, book 3 all in 1 year? Is that what your
Yeah,
goal is right now?
a little bit over 1 year from the first release to the 3rd book's release.
Mm,
I was very fortunate. When I wrote the book, I wasn't sure if I was gonna publish it.
right.
I mean, if I had found Substack on my own, I may have just published it straight on Substack, and do
Yeah,
it
and
as a.
that's what's leading me to my next question, because you
Yeah,
have the first one done and out, you have all three. So, is it because your plan all along, regardless of Substack, was that you were going to publish it on your own? Um, or are you a little nervous about doing the whole serializing it and putting it out there now that you know it's all done? Because there are those people who, when they serialize on Substack, they say, finish the book first, then
right.
release the chapters.
Yeah,
You've got all three.
right.
Did you ever think like, I wonder if I should do the second book
Yeah.
and serialize it chapter by chapter, week by week?
I never considered it simply because by the point I got to Substack, I'd already signed with the publisher. So I'm with a
Right.
small indie press publisher. So they put out book 1. They suggested I go to Substack, start to build a community. So I had a way
Okay.
to grow readership.
Mm,
Um, and they're working on book 2 now. So they have options to do book 3.
right.
So
Right.
for me, in fact, like book 1 originally had a prologue, and that got pulled, and we put in something different for the prologue. So I had this short story that
Right.
I recently released
Yeah.
uh, at the end of June. That was the original prologue that
Okay.
got pulled, like a deleted scene. So that's what I'm using Substack for. I'm using it for all of that kind of background information.
Right.
So I'm doing
Like
character
the
profile.
foundation.
Yeah, character profiles, locations,
Right.
sneak peeks, like all of that kind of stuff. So those are the short stories. That is the fiction, the direct fiction that I'm sharing on
Right.
Substack, and
Mm.
this kind of like the additional bonus material that you people who are interested in the story might find also interesting, or people that like I put in personal anecdotes, So like if you want to know more about me as an author or
Mhm.
a human, you know, those are also in there.
So are you thinking beyond these 3 books yet? Or are you just enjoying the process of these 3?
I
As a writer, I'm sure I know the answer, but I love asking this question of, like, so, because there are people who don't realize just how much our brains are constantly imagining and creating, right?
Yeah,
Like, sure, I created this whole world, but you know,
yeah.
what's going
I
on outside of this? While you're sitting and waiting for this thing to be edited, I'm sure you're not just sitting and waiting.
no, I'm not. I definitely have ideas marinating. For me, like I've been so just wrapped up in this world that when last summer I started doing the daily microdosing with Miguel, and I was like I couldn't get outside of the world, so I was like fine, I'll just live in it. So I did
Right.
all my daily flash fiction as within the world.
Mhm.
Whatever the word was, I would go and figure out, okay, where does this fit within the storyline? Anywhere,
Mm.
book 1, 2, 3, and I'd pull an element from that and be like, okay, I'm going to write my flash fiction, my microdosing within the world. So I'm finding it really, really hard to get out of the world.
Well, do you
To
feel like
go
you need to get out of it? Like, because I know for me, I have an entire universe, right? And in
Yeah.
my mind, in that universe, I have like 10 different sagas and trilogies that are going to go on, and they're all in the same space. So you
Mhm.
have this trilogy. You For your next thing, you don't necessarily have to leave the world, but maybe there's a different character, there's a
Right.
different, right? Like,
And there are several characters. So, it's high school. There's lots of
right,
characters to from. There's lots of the
right.
friend group is there's It's actually there's 11 people. So, like, I could go with any of those. I could go with any of the adults
Mhm.
and go back prequel, like, how did they get to where they are in Shadowring
Right.
themselves, their
Right.
backstories.
Which is a
Um,
classic thing to do. I when you say that, I think of obviously Hunger Games, and
yeah,
the latest book that came out is the prequel of how that came about, and it's I almost bought it because I did read back when that was a big thing. I
yeah.
have the box set, and I was in the bookstore and I was like, "Do I want to? Nah, I'm okay." And I actually didn't.
I just read it myself. So, yeah,
Okay.
so there's definitely that opportunity.
Mhm.
But I have other ideas kinda marinating too that are, I think, outside this world and could
Right.
be own living entity. And,
Now, would you stay within YA? Because I know some authors who, when they're in YA, they find it difficult, or
yeah,
they get a little worried to do adult, or to do something else adjacent to that, because they know that their audience is young adult, and so they don't want to confuse anyone by
it
like,
is
oh, and then I have this horror book over here, and it's like, well, no, I need to stay in this.
that is a tough decision, and I think my ideas that I'm playing around with are the characters I think are a little bit older, not my age older, but, like, maybe the early 20s, so that kind of pushes me out of young adult and into that new category that it's not really a category of the new adult.
Right, yeah,
Um,
I don't understand new
so
adult at all. New age, new
yeah,
adult. I'm like, "What is that?" Uh,
it
Show
yeah.
me the old
But
adult books, please.
it's where you can, like, address, heavier themes, even though the characters are still young-ish.
Okay.
So, yeah, so, mm, I don't know, I think the ideas are not formulated enough to know for sure if it would stay within the young adult genre or if it would push to adult,
Mhm.
or new adult. So it's I don't know. It's for me, it's the characters kind of come first and then the world kind of builds
Right.
around. I have to figure out why are they here? What has shaped their world? What has shaped them?
Mhm.
So that's how Tessa came to me. I first saw her and I was like, why is she here? Why is she without her family? Like, why is she experiencing what she's experiencing? And then that built the world.
Mhm.
Um,
It is
so
quite fascinating to me how many people have that COVID book, or that idea, because we so much of us were alone, or we didn't have there was no place we could go, and
yeah,
but in our minds. And I'm very when you said that, I was like, oh, yep, yep, I've got a few of those. I've got so many. My folder of the ideas and the stories that I came up with during that time is full. My cup runneth over with all of those. And it's
yes,
great when I see that because what happens is, and like for me, it stayed in the folder. Like, I don't think I went back to it in so many of those ideas. So it's great when you say like this, I came up with this during that time period, and here we are, however many 5, 6 years later, and
yeah,
you've written, it sounds like, almost a million words for this trilogy
yeah.
to now see itself come to light. Um,
It does feel
so
like
what
it
has it
actually
been?
started 15 years ago.
Okay, I
Like, I
was
wrote
just gonna
it
say, like how long ago actually did you have this idea, but now
yeah,
you found yourself with it
I
to
timed.
do, you
Yeah,
had the time to actually do it.
yeah, so it was 10 years prior. I had written so
Okay.
15 years ago, I had written the first scene, which is actually chapter 1 of the book, and I had written, several vignettes, I would say, like setting vignettes, like
Yeah.
locations, which kind of started to develop the world and where she was. And I had put it away in Dropbox, forgot about it.
Mhm.
And then I got this notice from Dropbox about a policy change. I was like, I don't even know what I have in there. So
Right.
I went and I read it and I was fascinated. I was like, oh my gosh, what happens next? I needed to know. And so that's when I was like, I started to write it. And then, you know, life happened. My job I was working in at the time ended. I had several months while I was looking for a new job. And um, so it became my job. I wrote this book. I was like, I have to get the story out of my head because I couldn't
Mhm.
sleep. Like, it kept me up
Now,
at night.
did you
Yeah.
query to find a an imprint? Did they find you? Like, what
Oh,
was that, like, process like that led to here and now?
mine is probably as unique as you could possibly get.
I mean,
So
everyone's story really is, and that's why I want you to tell it because I think this is a lesson that never drives home for many writers, which is everyone's journey is different and unique. There is no blueprint to how one gets to what they get and have what they have. Everyone is different and everyone gets there differently, but everyone is always seeking for what's the answer? How do I do it? Tell me, tell me, tell me. And it's like, no, every single one is different and unique. And so I always like to ask and find out what was your journey that got you here.
yeah. The first thing, my lesson that I learned from this process is tell everyone you've written a book.
Mm.
That's the biggest lesson I could learn is that, like,
Yeah, because you
yes,
never know who you're telling
never
and who that person
know.
knows. And
Exactly, and that's
right,
completely how this happened. So, a good friend of mine, I had finally admitted to people I had written a book, and so I was talking to one particular good friend of mine. Her her company was having a Christmas party downtown in our little town, at one of the event spaces, and the event space has business offices attached to it with shared bathrooms. So she was at this Christmas party. She goes into the bathroom. This other woman walks in who is from one of the office spaces attached to it, and they find out they have the same name. So they start talking, and they're both extroverts, right? So they're talking to one another. And my friend asks, "Well, what do you do?" And the publisher said, "Well, I just started a small indie press and I'm looking for authors." And my friend goes, "I have a friend who wrote a book." So
yeah,
I got her number and I called her and I talked to the publisher, and it was a good fit, and she read the manuscript and she loved it, and that's how I got a publisher.
right.
So, because I told
Should
my
you?
friend who
Yeah.
told somebody else.
Right, right. And you never know who you're meeting and who you're talking to and whose cousin's nephew's best friend from high
Exactly.
school
Yes, my
knows what
dad
they're doing now.
this this is a fun story. So recently my dad was at his dentist and getting his teeth cleaned, and he was talking because he talks to everyone. He was talking to them and was very proud of his daughter for writing this book. And they started talking about what do they read, and so he sold 3 books to his dentist. So like he's
Right.
one of my best book marketers.
There you
I think
go.
when I was back in Boise visiting my family, I sold 16 total books. I think it was
Mhm.
the people that my parents know.
Right.
So
Hey, that's the best. Word of
no,
mouth. That's what word of mouth is, right?
yeah,
And there
exactly.
is that older generation that really is how news got around and how you know what's good is by asking someone else, "Hey, what have you read recently?" Next thing you know, you'll be a part of a book club, and you'll have
Uh,
everyone at the book club.
my cousin recently had me come and do a Zoom book club with her book club on the opposite coast of the continent. So,
There you
yeah.
go.
So that's always
And
fun.
and I know that that's something else. I have a friend who he's a writer and he goes to cons and stuff like that, but he also will contact the school district because he writes young
Mhm.
adult and will say like, "Hey, I have this book." And several of them have, in other states have actually said sure, and they've, then you end up selling 100 books because they have all the kids read it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
do a book report or whatever it is. And so,
Yeah.
I offer that out to you. I don't know if you've already tried that, but I know sometimes you never know with the school district. I don't know what state you're in. Well, no, I do. You said you're on the Pacific Northwest, so it's one of those over there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
And I'm sure they'll probably be open to it.
yeah, the story throughout the series hits the 3 main states of the Pacific Northwest that are
And there's
still.
something about the Pacific Northwest that is so fascinating. The second you said that, I was like, "Oh, S.C. Reed writes her story is there as well." And I know several others. Like nobody, what's wrong with the East Coast? Is there nothing fascinating about the East Coast? I feel like the only thing in the East Coast that's fascinating is Maine, and that's just because Stephen King writes all of his story takes
Yeah,
place in Maine.
right.
But there's more than Maine on the East Coast, people. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
It's a fascinating place. It's not just the Pacific
Maine or New
Northwest.
York, right? Those are your choices. Maybe Washington, DC.
Maybe, maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, so so the next plan is you're waiting for the edits to come back and then you're going to do the advanced reader copies. How does that work for you with the advance? Because have you done them for the first book? Like how did that go
Yeah.
and what is are you following the same blueprint for the second book to do that?
For the most part, yeah. So, I am fortunate Provender Press as my publisher is handling the street team
Okay, okay.
and
Because I was gonna say,
getting the
like, are you using Goodreads, or is that what they use, or are they doing something else a bit different?
yeah, so I did signups through my contacts, reached
Okay.
out to friends, threw it out on my author social media, my personal social media.
Mhm,
I posted it in the library here on Substack. I sent it out through Tailbones with Sally.
mhm,
Anywhere that I could like send it. Ian did a review, and SL Stallings recently did a review of the book.
okay,
So those here on Substack. Um, so yeah, I'm you know the publisher is taking the driver's seat, but I'm definitely an active participant
mhm,
in the process.
right.
Um,
And, how about with the book art and the cover and stuff like that? Um, did you assist in an idea of what you were looking for, or did they come to you and say, this is the cover? Like, how does that work
yeah,
with the book cover?
so the press hired an artist, and we talked about like what we wanted to see, what the publisher wanted to see, what I wanted to see, and we sent that off to the artist. And
Mhm,
Juan Padron Design is did an amazing job of taking our ideas and coming up with. So my idea was to have a profile and also to have reflection through a mirror. So
mhm,
both of those elements were incorporated in other, side elements of the story. There's a lot of talk about fireflies, for example. So there's like those spot colors on there to mimic the fireflies, um, and just that the general vibe of a dystopian feel
mhm,
of the story as the background. So those elements were all incorporated. Does it look how I envisioned it? No,
right,
but I'm happy with it. So,
right,
which
right.
is why artists do it instead of doing it yourself. Like I know my skills and I know where they end.
Mhm,
Um, so definitely having a professional cover was great. And it started as so Angela's the publisher. She found some stock cover books that he had done, and so we kind of started with one as the feel that we wanted, and then gave
mhm.
him the elements we wanted to have included, and that's what he came up with. So,
So
and so he
you'll have
worked
to
did books 2 and 3 at the same time. So all
Oh,
three
so
covers,
all 3 are by the same
mostly,
artist. That helps, yeah.
yeah, yeah, they're all the same artist and they're mostly done. There's still tweaking that needs to happen on 2 and 3, but we had the concept and we wanted it to flow, so we needed all 3 of them to be created at one time. So Merged and Forged are the books 2 and 3 names, and so those covers are, like I said, mostly done. We're fine-tuning them. He's fine-tuning them.
You'll have to remind me you are okay, so I had to go to the Discord just to confirm. I'm like, you're gonna do the summit, TIFF summit, right?
Yeah.
Because I wanna make sure that you come and I don't know if you planned on reading from the book or if you plan on reading something else. I haven't really asked anyone what their plans are because it's not till January, so I don't wanna be like, "You have to tell me now what you're gonna
Yeah,
read."
I
You
don't
still have
I
plenty of
think
time.
I now, but yeah. Yes, I definitely
Yes.
want to get
Yeah,
them
so
out.
because I hope you come on and either read from Shattered or maybe read from one of the other 2 books, whatever it you can you get to decide what you read. But I'm excited to, hear you read your work, and I hope that it's YA and that it's, no pressure at all to
It
deliver
will
something fabulous. But I look forward to having you be a part of this TIFF summit, and thank you so much for coming on. I just like out of whim, and that's usually how it happens. I see something, and you had mentioned your book and that it was young adult, and I immediately like without even thinking, I messaged you. I said, "Hey, Wanna come on?
Yeah,
Wanna talk about it?
glad you did. This is a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
I
And,
was like, at this
I
point, I don't even think twice. I'm just like, I'm just gonna ask the person if they wanna come on and chat with
right,
me and just
for
have a
sure.
conversation. Yeah.
I you inspired me. So, I one young adult author that I know first through Instagram, but she is on Substack, um, has 2 books out and a 3rd one coming, and so next week at 9 Pacific time, so directly after, this time frame, we're gonna chat about writing young adult books together. So, anyone can join us, of course, because 'cause it'll be on Substack Live next Wednesday.
You, pay attention to that and follow CB Mason. If you're not following her, check out her book, Shattered, Substack, and make sure you pick up the book. And I'm sure I'll probably end up doing the same because I gotta read it now. I gotta get back to reading young adult fiction. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
being on. Thank you to everyone for being here with us and this conversation. And I will be sending out the email in a couple of hours that will have this video if you haven't watched it yet, and we'll have all of the amazing 20 stories, their medallions and all that good stuff. So you can read all that fiction, find out more about CB Mason. And I'll be back live actually this Friday. I'm going to try to do a take two because we messed up the stream with myself and three other lovely ladies who are also doing serials. So we're trying it again. I think I fixed the problem. The audio should be working. So this Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, um, come to watch all four of us talking about serial fiction. So thank you, CB. And
yeah, thank you, and to Anne out there, chef's kiss back to you.
yes, okay. All right. Bye, everybody.